Poor single mom selling apples was threatened by Dawn's son. Moments later, the truth came out. The slap came out of nowhere. Maria Reyes was arranging her last crate of Honeycrisps on the chipped folding table when the manicured hand cracked across her cheek. The apples rolled like red marbles across the wet Manhattan sidewalk. A few bruised against the curb. "Get this garbage off my father's corner, you filthy squatter." The voice belonged to Trevor Langford III, 28, trust fund tan, wearing a $6,000 Canada Goose jacket that had never seen actual Canadian weather. Everyone in the Union Square Green Market knew the Langfords owned half the buildings ringing the park. Everyone also knew Trevor liked to remind people. Maria tasted blood where her tooth had cut the inside of her lip. She didn't cry. She had promised her 8-year-old son Mateo that tears were for bedtime only, when no one could see. "I paid the market fee, Mr. Trevor," she said quietly, kneeling to gather the fallen apples. Her knuckles were raw from the morning cold. Same as every Saturday for 3 years. Trevor kicked the crate. More apples scattered. "Not anymore. Dad's turning this block into a Langford Organics flagship. Starting Monday, this spot is ours. You people need to learn your place. You people." Maria felt the words land heavier than the slap. She had been born 2 blocks from here, in the same public hospital where she'd given birth to Mateo. But her accent, Dominican from her mother, Queens from her father, apparently marked her as temporary. A small crowd formed the way New York crowds do. Phones up, mouths shut, ready to film justice or cruelty depending on which went viral first. Trevor smirked for the cameras. "What are you waiting for? Pack up before I call security." Maria's hands shook as she salvaged what fruit she could. Each bruised apple was $20 she wouldn't make today. $20 was 2 subway rides for Mateo's physical therapy, or the electric bill, or the antibiotics he needed after last month's ear infection. She kept her eyes down so Trevor wouldn't see the math running behind them. That was when the old man stepped forward. He moved slowly, leaning on a polished walnut cane, wrapped in a navy coat that looked expensive but well worn, like it had stories. His silver hair was neat under a flat cap. No one recognized him. He wasn't a regular. "Son," the old man said, voice calm as a church bell, "apologize to the lady." Trevor spun, ready to unleash on another nobody, then froze. The man's eyes, pale blue, sharp as winter glass, locked onto Trevor's. Something passed between them, wordless and electric. Trevor's tan drained 2 shades. You can't." "I can," the old man said. "And I just did." He turned to Maria, removed his cap, and spoke with the faintest trace of an accent she couldn't place. "Ma'am, how much for everything left in the crate?" Maria blinked. There's maybe 40 pounds. At $4 a pound. I'll take it all." He reached into his coat and pulled out a worn leather wallet thick with bills. He counted out 10 crisp $100 notes and pressed them into her trembling hand. "Keep the change. Bruised apples make the best pie." The crowd murmured. $1,000. More money than Maria cleared in a good month. Trevor found his voice, shrill now. "Dad, tell me you're not." The old man faced him fully. "I'm not your father, Trevor. Not anymore." A ripple went through the onlookers. Phones tilted for better angles. Trevor laughed, but it cracked in the middle. "This is insane. You're dead. Everyone knows you're dead." The old man smiled without warmth. "The obituary was convenient. Gave me a chance to see what my money built without me." Maria's heart hammered. She had read about Donald Langford, the reclusive billionaire who'd vanished 5 years ago after a cancer diagnosis. Presumed dead in Switzerland, the Langford empire had been run by trustees and Trevor's older cousin ever since. But here he stood, alive, breathing frost into the December air. Donald turned back to Maria. "Young lady, what's your name?" "Maria Reyes, sir." "Maria, my son just struck you in front of 50 witnesses. I'd like to make that right." He raised his voice so the phones caught every word. "The entire block, numbers 10 through 24 on 14th Street, will be transferred into a community trust. You, Maria, will sit on the board. Your neighbors too. No more evictions. No more Langford Organics, pushing out the people who actually belong here." Trevor lunged forward. "You can't do that. The lawyers work for me, boy. Always did." Donald's voice dropped, deadly quiet. I watched you for months, Trevor. From the cafe across the street. I watched you bully vendors, raise rents on grandmothers, throw tantrums when anyone stood up to you. I wanted to see if any of my children had a spine. Turns out only one does, and she's 8 years old and waiting for her mother under a cardboard fort in Queens. Maria's knees nearly gave out. Donald continued, softer now, speaking only to her. I have leukemia, Maria. Real this time. 6 months, maybe less. I came back to die in the city I love, not some clinic in Zurich. I wanted to know what kind of man my fortune raised. He glanced at Trevor, who looked suddenly small inside the oversized jacket. I know now. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a brass key on a red ribbon. This opens the garden level of number 18. Used to be my mother's flower shop. It's been empty 20 years. Take it, for you and your son. No rent, ever. Maria couldn't speak. The key felt heavier than the wallet had. Donald placed his hat back on. One more thing. He faced the crowd. Any vendor Trevor harassed today, come find me at the cafe on the corner. Coffee's on me, and your tables are safe. All of them. He started to walk away, then paused, looked back at Maria. You reminded me of my mother, he said simply. She sold apples too, back when this neighborhood had cobblestones and horses. She taught me kindness wasn't weakness. I forgot for a long time. Trevor stood frozen as his father, alive, undeniable, disappeared into the holiday crowd. Maria looked down at the key in her palm, then at the $1,000, then at the crate of bruised apples someone had quietly righted for her. A little voice piped up from behind the table. Mateo, who must have taken the train alone again because the babysitter never showed, peered out, eyes wide. Mommy, are we rich now? Maria laughed through sudden tears. She crouched, hugged him so hard his knit cap fell off. No, mijo, she whispered. We're home. She stood up, wiped her face with the sleeve of her old coat, and began handing out apples to the stunned vendors around her. On the house, she called, voice steady for the first time all morning. Merry Christmas. And under the gray December sky, with sirens and salsa and subway rumbles all mixing together the way only New York can, strangers started smiling at one another like they'd just remembered something important. The cameras kept rolling. By nightfall, the video would have 12 million views. By spring, number 18's garden level would bloom with window boxes and laughter and a little boy running without crutches for the first time. And every Saturday after, Maria Reyes still sold apples on the same corner, only now the sign read, Mama Reyes and Mateo, best apples in the city. Grown with love, always $2 a pound, but if you're short, take 2 and pay me when you can. People lined up for blocks. Some came for the fruit. Most came for the story. And every now and then, an old man in a navy coat and flat cap would sit at the cafe across the street, sipping black coffee, watching the world he almost lost learn how to be kind again. He never introduced himself. He didn't need to. The apples tasted like hope.